Thank you. Right.
Are you suggesting that someone's trying to make a real-life sequel?
Stab 2? Who'd want to do that? Sequels suck.
2 in the box!
Ready to go.
We be fast and
They be slow.
Wow. A second Super Saiyan? Second in order, perhaps, but by no means in stature. Your fight is with me now.
I'll have my revenge. And Deathstalker too.
Man, I can't fucking believe this. Another basement, another elevator. How can the same shit happen to the same guy twice?
Oh, please, please. By definition alone, they're inferior films.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Inside the Sequel, the podcast where we talk about sequel movies that don't get enough love or attention that they deserve. And today I'm excited for today's special episode because we have a three-way going on, which we haven't seen the likes of that on this podcast in a while. And we're talking about Guillermo del Toro's 2002 sequel, Blade 2.
There's a world beyond the one we know, where the powers of darkness fear nothing but one man. Stop! Blade.
We represent the ruling body of the vampire nation. They're offering you a truce. They want to meet with you.
You sure about this?
They'll take us in deeper than we've ever been.
Now, those he has sworn to kill need his help to fight a new breed of terror.
They're no longer top of the food chain.
Our forces are ready to fight, but we need a leader.
Let me get this right. You want me to hunt them? For you?
Ooh, so exciting.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep your friends close. Keep your enemies closer. Coming on, freaks. Coming on, freaks now.
Here I am, Blade. Wesley Snipes.
Do not know who you are. Messing with!
Blade 2.
Calling off freaks now.
Now, with me on this on this special journey through this movie, I have two of the biggest Blade stands I actually know. I don't know if Blade has such a huge following, but I know these two like it. So I have from Cobwebs, I have Daniel Epler, and I have from the Film Feast, Matt Bledsoe. How you fellers doing?
Good, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sweaty. I'm nervous to slander this movie to two fans of the film.
Oh no. Yeah, I was gonna say like is not strong enough. Love Blade 2 is the proper term for me because I love this movie. Just start off telling people what I'm thinking about. But yeah, I'm very excited to talk to this movie, guys. I'm excited to be back on Inside the Sequel too. So this should be fun.
However, I do think it's unfair to categorize me as one of the biggest Blade stans. Because that's not true. While I'm a big fan of this movie, and I'm very happy you asked me on to talk about it, I've actually never seen Blade Trinity, and I've never watched like any of the Blade animated movies, and I've never read a Blade comic book. So I don't think I'm actually very qualified, but I do like action movies and horror movies. And obviously I love vampires. So
well, I guess I should clarify. I think also what gave me an idea that you like the Blade movies is because when we did Hellboy 2 with Del Toro, you did talk about Blade 2 and you were like, you'd really like 2. Like 2's cool.
I like every Blade movie I've ever seen, which is 2 of them, not 3.
I'm gonna tell you right now, no one should watch Blade Trinity.
I really wanted to watch it before this, but I couldn't do it. I didn't do it.
It was one of the biggest disappointments of my movie going life, honest to God. Like how much I love Blade 1 and 2. And I skipped school to see Blade Trinity. And I was left theater, my head down. I was like, what the fuck was that? And I think Mike Scott is also a big Blade stan. He could have been a good guest too, but I think he actually likes Blade Trinity as well. You have to ask him. Sorry to slander Blade Trinity right off the bat, but I hate Blade Trinity so much. Like,
well, that could be a future episode with Mike Scott. I guess.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. But it's also on HBO Max, so shout that out, dude. Yeah. HBO Max is taking the cake for being the best streaming service. I'm serious. I love that streaming service so much. Except the fucking app is bummy when it comes to user-friendly control.
Dude, they did an update and it seems to be a lot better now. I heard that they did an update and I haven't had problems with it since. But yeah, it used to be terrible.
It's weird. I keep trying to give Malignant a chance by trying to rewatch it. So when I click it, but it won't let me watch it. So I think I'm just destined not to rewatch it and keep my opinion.
I don't believe you. I don't think you've been trying to rewatch it. I think you're lying.
But no, I'm so happy to have you fellers on. And I'm curious, do you guys blush? Because I'm not quite sure.
Only around you, baby.
Oh, shoot. But what have you two guys been up to? I know I've been doing the Fly Fridays with Daniel, but I'm not living with him 24/7, so I don't know what else he's been
Much to my chagrin.
Yeah. I thought you guys were roommates. This is all a sham. I thought you were living together. No.
Well, Daniel, I think you're doing some stuff with Schlock and Awe. Is that correct?
I guessed it on an episode. Yeah, it'll probably be out by the time this is out, judging by the date that you posted on Twitter. So yeah, it's part of her Evil Dead series. We're talking about Army of Darkness. It was a good time, I think.
Good. And I've been enjoying the Fly Fridays we've been doing. Matt, you better be liking them because I'm not putting out this effort for nothing.
Wait. I saw Matt rate the original Fly on Letterboxd and he rated it so low.
Yeah.
I was heartbroken.
Yeah. Matt Bledsoe, great movie. Absolutely loved it. 3-star. Cinema.
I wish he rated 3 stars. If he rated 3 stars, I would have nothing to say.
Matt, you rated it lower than 3? You fucking madman.
But yeah, sorry about my Fly rating. I try to do it in the middle of the night when no one would see it. And it's like people still saw it. It's like, let me just do this after midnight. No one will notice. I found it very boring. I'm so sorry. I was having a hard time. I thought it started off pretty interesting. I thought it ended very interesting. I thought the middle it was tough. Maybe I was tired. Maybe something was wrong with me. I'll give it another shot. I didn't hate it. I just was it wasn't doing much for me. So that ending is nightmare fuel though, with him and that spider web. I can totally see why that terrified you as a child.
I'll take that.
People complain oh my God, Instagram and Facebook Messenger are down and stuff. But I was like, what are you talking about? I'm on Letterboxd. I get to see what everyone's talking about right now.
If Letterboxd goes down, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Bro, I need to see those porn reviews and rankings from my friends. I need to know. Time is a valuable thing to waste. And Letterboxd comes through with those reviews for me. But Matt, what have you been up to? I will say, so I was listening to your Creep Show episode with Walker Texas Ranger, and I'm not gonna lie, dude. I was laughing pretty damn hard for the first 10 minutes of that episode. It was just cracking me up, and then I was like, "Oh, Ken got married. That's fucking awesome." And then you started roasting him some more, and I was like, "That's even better."
The funny thing is, I don't remember what I even said because we recorded that episode very last minute, and I felt like I was really tired doing it. And I was I do remember I gave him shit because I felt like he admitted he doesn't listen to the show when he's not on the show.
I thought that was so funny.
It's okay, Ken. Well, I see what this is all about.
I'm with Ken. He was Malignant, everyone's he said, and I quote, I'm pretty sure he said, everyone's gassing it up, but it's a 3.5 star movie. And I'm like, oh, thank you, Ken. Thank you.
I think that's how Ken talks.
I don't remember him saying that at all.
He had a very grounded, down to earth review of that movie. And then Matt's like, well, I watched it 3 times, so let's move on from it. And I was like, oh, there's tea in that room.
Oh, no. I just thought it was funny because he was I was like, Ken, I mentioned that in the show 2 weeks ago. He was like, what? Oh, to be fair, I think the episode I mentioned on dropped the day before his wedding, so he can miss that episode, but I still had to give him shit about it. And plus I felt like I talked it to death at that point. I was like, I couldn't go into it again. But yeah, we were frustrated too because we had audio issues in the episode to start off, so I felt like both of us were okay, let's just do this. But I'm glad you enjoyed it, Chris, because yeah, it's one of the episodes it finished it and I was like, how did that go? I have no idea what we said, what happened, I don't know.
Well, any Creep Show talk is good talk for me. And then when you said, I think I like Creep Show too than most people, I'm like, see, this is why I knew Matt was a good feller, because I love Creep Show too, and I'm pretty sure Daniel loves Creep Show too as well. So you're in good company.
I think Creep Show 2 is okay. Let's not go crazy here.
Okay, whatever. So yeah, I listened to that and I thought that was really fun. And when actually I asked Matt first about coming on here, and then when he gave me the option, he said Blade 2, I was like, I should take that opportunity. And yeah, Give me some background with like the Blade movie. So I need to hear some stories because when these Blade movies were coming out, I only knew because Wesley Snipes was a big deal and they were coming in the early 2000s. And I really don't have the best relationship with these movies when they were coming out at that time because I just wasn't paying attention to them. So like Blade, was he kind of like, I don't know, I was watching like Riddick instead, you know, I wasn't watching like Blade. The vibe of the first Blade, especially Blade 2, gives me such early Fast and Furious vibes too. Am I the only one that felt that, or is that a normal thing?
Wait, the Blade 2 or the first Blade?
Well, the first Blade kind of, I think Blade 2 is better than Blade 1. Is that a weird opinion?
No, I go back and forth on that literally all the time. Like I can never decide which one I like better, and I give them both 5 stars, but I don't know which one I actually like better. Usually it's whatever one I just watched. So like if I watch Blade 2, I'm like, oh, Blade 2 is better. If I watch Blade 1, I'm like, oh, Blade 1's better. But it's like it's the razor thin margin. No, Blade 2, I think for a long time it was like popular opinion Blade 2 was better than Blade 1 amongst people, but that may be me just assuming that. I don't know. So yeah.
Yeah, Danny, do you watch the Blade movies growing up? I don't know if you were allowed to.
So for a long time, the Blade movies were like what Citizen Kane or Gone with the Wind are for a lot of people, like movies hanging over my head where I'm like, as a movie fan, I have to see these. But for some reason, I never watched them until last year. So I don't have a history with the Blade movies at all.
Okay.
I finally, because I had bought them so many years ago and they've just sat on my shelf. So I checked them out for the first time last year. And I am a Blade 2 guy for sure. I like the first Blade. I particularly like the third act. I think the action is just amazing. But I find the first Blade pretty slow for a while. And maybe that would change on a second watch. I've only seen it once. But Blade 2 is a pretty across the board love fest for me. So I'm definitely happy to talk about that one on here.
Yeah, with the first Blade, like Daniel said, I thought it was a little slower. The CGI usage was a little surprising. I didn't think I would see that much CGI in that movie, but we did. But we get some kind of cool like explosion scenes in that. And I don't recognize the director who did that film. Like I was like, who is that? Like I don't recognize it. But no, with Blade, but the jump to Blade 2 with Del Toro taking the mantle, especially at this time in his career, like right before the Hellboy movies, I think it was kind of like a peek of what was to come, but I still really liked what he gave us in that Blade 2 movie, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he brings a lot to it. And I was thinking about this. I don't want to bash the MCU because I actually like most MCU movies, but
here we go.
I was watching this, made in 2002 before there was an MCU and it was just kind of Marvel making movies. And like, this movie is so Del Toro. It's so him, like in the way it looks, the weird stuff in the movie. And like, if that was an MCU thing, I think they would have beat the Del Toro out of it. They would have because now I can't tell most directors who directed an MCU movie because they kind of all have to kind of look mostly similar. Like making a big deal about Chloe Zhao doing the Eternals because it's like, oh my God, we shot outside and there's natural light. It's like, it looks kind of different. But like Blade 2 is so Del Toro, like all the like weird, like fetuses in jars and all the old vampire shit and like just like how gothic it is and like the color palette he loves, like those oranges and blues. I just don't think the movie would have been the same if he made it post MCU. Like he got to put so much personality into it. It's kind of amazing for a superhero sequel that it's like it's still so him. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it came out in 2002, which was definitely a time that I like for superhero movies because Hollywood was really figuring out what the hell a superhero movie was. And by now, like, we're all very confident about exactly what a superhero movie is. They usually always fit in the genre very well. I mean, even something like Suicide Squad, which is technically weirder, the Suicide Squad rather, it is weirder and more violent. It's still very much to me a typical superhero movie in most ways. But in the early 2000s, it was kind of a crapshoot as what the hell it was going to be. Like, you could get a Spider-Man, or you could get a Blade 2, or you could get an Ang Lee's Hulk, or an X-Men 2. Like, these are all very, very different movies. And all of those four movies, I would say, have directors really putting their personal stamps on them in really, really good ways. I mean, especially probably the most being Ang Lee's Hulk. That's probably the most just a director doing whatever the hell he wants in a superhero movie. But you're absolutely right, Matt. I mean, I also Chris and I guess I'm the Del Toro guy on this podcast because Chris and I did a Hellboy 2 episode as well. And I was also that was 2008. And I was just marveling at what a weird movie that is and how much Del Toro put his personal stamp on it. And I think that's true for this one too, because it does retain the really, really good action of the first movie. It might put in a little bit more CGI than I think the first movie does in the action, but for the most part, I don't think it does too much. But Del Toro definitely makes it more of a monster movie. It's way more of a classic monster movie, and that's something that really appeals to me about it for sure.
Yeah, this movie's rated R, and the first one it was as well. And I was surprised. I was like, am I watching like an unrated cut? Because like there was a lot of graphic violence. Like there's limbs falling off, there's a lot of blood, and they're just hard R. And I'm like, man, remember like, you know, when that was a thing and like whatever, but like now it's like, oh, Deadpool's rated R for its profanity. And then it's like, you know, oh, how far can we push the PG-13 envelope at this point now, you know, with these ratings and these controversies and stuff. And it's like Blade just like, no, Blade's a vampire guy. We're going to give you all the fun and guts with it.
You know, and I will say, I usually don't like R-rated superhero violence because to me, it's usually just a lot of CGI blood and none of it really feels impactful to me. Like I really, again, I'm bashing it, but I really felt that in the Suicide Squad. I feel that in the Deadpool movies. Like they don't feel violent to me. It's just a lot of CGI blood flying around. Mm-hmm. Blade 2 is not like that. Blade 2 does feel like a legitimately violent movie. And I think the violence feels impactful in a better way.
Yeah, like you know, before we start recording, I was like, it's a Marvel character, but it kind of doesn't at the same time, you know. Blade to me felt like a Van Helsing mixed with, I don't know if you guys played the video games Devil May Cry, where the character in that video game is like all action packed, but he's hunting demons instead of vampires. But they're really imaginative looking, kind of like what the Blade universe would be like, and kind of a mix with Spawn. But yeah, I felt like with the Blade movies, and I was just like, kind of impressed. Like a movie at this time was coming out, and I was like, Spider-Man came out the same year, didn't it? So it's like, you know, Blade's also coming out. And then I was like, I feel like Daredevil, I can't remember when, was that 2003 or 4?
I think it was 2003.
Three. So a year later, and I'm thinking, I feel like Daredevil was probably trying to do somewhat of what Blade was doing, but to a lesser degree, you know, just with the leather and the dark infusement.
It's
I don't know what they were trying to do in Daredevil.
Matrix a little bit. Yeah, it's like the Matrix meets Spider-Man meets, I don't know. It's a very weird thing.
Post Matrix, I think a lot of things were trying to be like cool leather. Even the first X-Men, I feel like, is trying to be influenced by it, because it's like we're scared of our comic costume. We got all black leather across the board. Like, you know, they're so scared of like being in comic book accurate. Just so different than how we are now, which I appreciate. Like the new wave super movies, like they'll look like the comic books. You know, it's fine. But back then it was like all black leather, can't do anything too goofy, you know, like they were worried about being goofy or something.
Right. Yeah, and Cyclops has that dumb line, what were you expecting? Leather spandex? Oh, we get it.
Like, yes, we were Cyclops. Yeah.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Crap. Keep talking. I thought I had it. Never mind. Oh, now I was like, so yeah, you got Wesley Snipes making this movie, and I'm not like the biggest like Wesley Snipes, like, you know, not I'm gonna say fan, but like I haven't watched a lot of Wesley Snipes movies. I've probably seen him just I think in a couple Spike Lee movies, and that's about it. But I know he was a big action star. I wonder, like, was this a big deal for him to like kind of go out and do his own like superhero action movies in a way, you know? Like I'm not quite sure, because I know Daniel, you've watched a couple Wesley Snipes movies. I don't know if you, Matt, have before either. So I was kind of like also thinking, like, I feel like this is kind of cool that like Wesley Snipes was doing like this superhero violent action movies, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. Yeah, I remember talking about it because it was hard to get this off the ground, I think, with a good budget, because it's a very obscure superhero. You know, super comic book movies are not as big a deal in the 90s. And this is a year after Batman and Robin, which people really, you know, that kind of people were very sour on comic movies then. So they did this like hard R superhero movie that based on an obscure character, and no one knew if it was going to work at all. And he had to work really hard to get it off the ground, I'm pretty sure, you know, with everybody else. And it paid off, because I think they kind of also took a gamble, like, well, things are so. Marvel was in bankruptcy in the 90s. People don't remember. Also, they had filed bankruptcy because like they had made all these bad business decisions. So I think they were just like, fuck it, let's make a Blade movie, because like, you know, we have nothing else to lose. We'll take a gamble, because they were kind of desperate. And it paid off, and he's a big part of it. And it's one of those characters too. I was gonna say, Wesley Snipes as Blade is one of those characters where it's like I cannot imagine another actor playing Blade. Like he's so perfect as Blade. And of course they're doing it now with Mahershala Ali as Blade. And I think he's great and has the look and everything. I don't know if he has like the martial arts skills because Snipes is a actual martial artist. That's why things look so legitimate when he does them. But I mean, yeah, it paid off, and then it was a big hit, and they made Blade 2. And I'm getting to all over the place now, but it was like when I saw Blade 1 in 98, this is a year before The Matrix. And when I saw Blade 1, I was like, that's the coolest fucking movie I've ever seen. Like that is like, I was like 10 when this came out. And I got to go, it was one of the first art movies I got to go see in the theater. And I like lost my mind. Like from the opening scene, which is like one of the best opening character directions ever in Blade 1, with him coming into that club and like the blood club scene and just him fucking up those vampires. I was like, well, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And then like, so I was so hyped for Blade 2. Like I had to sneak in like the weekend it came out, the day it came out, I was there. And I love it. I think I at the time loved it more than the first one. But I couldn't do any wrong. Blade was like, you know, it was all good for me. And then Blade Trinity came out and ruined everything. But but those first two Blade movies are very special to me because I like love them so much. Like I love them so much. Like Blade 2, I had the DVD. I was like literally listening to the commentary tracks over and over. I remember like falling asleep to the commentary tracks with like, yeah, I was obsessed. I've seen Blade 2 and Blade 1 like dozens of times. Like it's bananas. And like the Del Toro and a producer track, and then there's Wesley Snipes and David S. Goyer on a commentary track. And it's funny because Del Toro and the producer give you like a bunch of good insight and all this stuff. And then Wesley Snipes and David S. Goyer just like goofing off and doing like Mystery Science Theater 3000 for most of the track.
Or then David S. Goyer directed Blade Trinity.
Yeah, and then it's so sad to listen to that commentary track because they're like really good friends on that, and like everything falls apart in Blade Trinity because that movie's a mess and Wesley Snipes like refused to do anything on the movie. But yeah, sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm so excited for these movies, but I'm just like rambling. Someone else talk now.
You're good. You know, it's funny. I talked on the Hellboy episode about how Hellboy is a very rare superhero where like I don't feel like I care about seeing another Hellboy movie unless it's Ron Perlman and unless it's Del Toro. I kind of feel like that about Blade as well, where like I really just want it to be Wesley Snipes because like I share your concerns about Mahershala Ali because he's a great actor, but he's certainly never proven himself as an action star. I mean, I'm pretty sure the closest he's ever done to action is Alita, and I don't think he does very much action in that movie. Yeah. I don't have a lot of faith in that. I also just don't think the MCU is going to allow anything like this. Like, I don't think they're going to allow anything too scary or too violent. So I really don't know how that's going to work. It's probably going to be like fine, but it's not going to feel special like Blade 2 does. Because I wish they would cast, these superhero movies would cast more people who can really fight in superhero roles, but they're always like casting comedians and getting them to buff up, and they don't really know how to do any fighting. So it's kind of a lot of CGI nonsense, which is okay. Like I'm not against all CGI nonsense in a superhero movie, but it's so much better. It's so much better in Blade when you've got Wesley Snipes who can really do this stuff. And I love Wesley Snipes as an action star. I like him in a lot of other action movies too, because there's just almost nothing more fun than just watching Wesley Snipes beat people up. I mean, even more than a lot of other action stars that I like. Like, I would way rather watch Wesley Snipes beat people up than even like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who I love. But Wesley Snipes beating people up is glorious. He's just so good at it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, Wesley Snipes, I really only know because of these Blade movies and those few Spike Lee movies. So the action movies you're referring to, I really don't know. So I need you to name drop some for me to watch.
My favorite is Passenger 57.
That's what I was going to name. Watch that movie. It's
always
super fun.
Bet on black.
Yeah. It's amazing. And Demolition Man is really fun with him and Stallone.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Oh, Stallone and Snipes in a movie?
Yeah. I think you'd really like Demolition Man. It's a funny action movie too. It's like genuinely very funny, still has good action, like fun sci-fi concept. It's a good time. Absolutely.
Cool. And one that's not an action movie, but it's phenomenal Wesley Snipes is White Man Can't Jump.
Oh, with Woody Harrelson.
Great sports drama, and Wesley Snipes is so good in it.
So with Blade 2, we were talking about Del Toro, and he's tackling this. So he's already kind of done the vampire thing before. Like if you guys seen Kronos, it's a vampire movie. It feels like Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. almost in a way, but more Mexican. And then in this movie, it's like action-packed vampires. And I think it's really cool. And then he gets Ron Perlman, who's going to be in the Hellboy movie a year later or two. And I think that movie, the casting in this movie is like way better than the first movie. You get Norman Reedus in this, which I had no idea he was going to be in this movie. And when I saw him, I was like, that guy has not aged a day. Like looking at, like, thinking about where he is now with like with the Walking Dead movies at the time, and then looking at him now, I'm just like, wow, like kid had talent.
He thinks he's so cool in this movie, and he's not. Just swaggering around with his greasy hair, smoking a cigarette. Yeah, man, I took these 2 chicks back to my tent. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you're Norman Reedus.
It works for where the character goes, though. He's a really douchebag. I'm assuming we're spoiling things too, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
also,
yeah.
you get the guy from Fast and Furious that tells Dom, like, why did he let the guy come back to his house? And he's like, because the Buster brought me back. The Buster kept me from being locked up. And he takes his Corona. Forget that actor's name.
He's not in this movie.
Oh yeah, he is. He's the one with Ron Perlman. I'm pretty sure.
Chupa,
yeah.
Is that the same guy? They do look alike. Hang on, I'm gonna check.
We gotta look it up. I'm almost positive that is.
I knew he looked familiar, but I was like, is that the same guy? Hold on. Let me see here. You guys keep talking.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Bam.
Yeah, right, sir.
Yep.
Look at that.
Vince and Chupa, his 2 greatest roles.
Vince. I thought you were talking about the skinny little mechanic guy. Well, they're all mechanics,
Jesse,
but the super mechanic
guy.
Oh,
Jesse.
You know what's weird is that this actor is in Blade 2 as Chupa. He's also in Blade 1 as some guy named Kreese.
I don't remember him at all. In the
whole
first
different
Blade
character.
movie.
That's really weird. Yeah, he's probably some small side character, but that's just really weird to me in both movies as different characters.
I'll be honest. I think Blade 1, I think the villain in that movie is not that good. The Frost
Steven
guy.
Dorff.
Yeah, it's like Blade really can't capture a vampire nightclub owner. Like, really?
Steven Dorff's greatest role is in The Gate when he's like 12 years old.
Yeah. They make the point on Blade 2, like I remember on the commentary that like that they thought the problem with Blade 1 was they thought the villain wasn't strong enough. Like Deacon Frost was like he was good at talking. He was like a talking villain, but he wasn't a very physical. He wasn't imposing, until he becomes like the blood god at the end of the movie. So they were like, we got to remedy that in Blade 2. So I love that Nomak is like a physical equal for Blade compared to how kind of like wimpy Deacon Frost feels. Like he's like he could kill Deacon Frost very easily before he becomes the blood god, but it just doesn't happen. But that's a good change from Blade 1 and 2. Is the villain I think is more interesting and a better physical threat for Blade.
And per Del Toro fashion. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say Hellboy 2 makes the same correction, also with Luke Goss. They're both of those are like, we need a better villain. Get Luke Goss in here.
I was gonna say it's per typical Del Toro fashion. He knows how to humanize villains. He knows how to make us kind of feel for them and have some sort of like sympathy, and then they have a real strong reason for why they're being bad. Like when you watch Hellboy 2, the prince, you kind of understand why he's being bad. Same thing in this movie. You understand why the villains are doing what they're doing, and you get a lot of scenes with just the villain. I was a little confused with Chris Christopherson's role in this movie a little bit more than in the first one. It was more defined, and this one he's like in and out. And I'm like, oh, is he gonna turn on Blade or not? And then it's just like this.
That's the question,
and it's like I like that because I didn't have to think that much or that hard in Blade 1 that I had to with Blade 2. I was more invested with these characters, and I also feel like Del Toro gave Wesley Snipes more of an acting chance in this movie. Like he was having way more dialogue. He wasn't just delivering one-liners. He was doing way more different sort of action sequences. And he also gets Donnie Yen in it. And I think that's the biggest flaw. Is like he doesn't give Donnie Yen enough on this movie. And I was like,
that's
damn.
in my notes. Nowhere near enough.
Yeah,
Donnie
I've
Yen.
always been bothered by that. How cool Donnie Yen is. He gets kind of killed off like not like
unceremoniously.
A bitch, but unceremoniously. Yeah, it's like very like wait, he's gone. He's like one of the coolest characters in the Blood Pack, and then it's like, nope, dead. It's like,
he just gets one jump kick. That's like his only showstopper.
One sweet kick, and that's it. And he's part of the moment though when he stabs that Reaper in the gut, and the Reaper just pulls himself up and like just basically disembowels himself. Like
that's true.
Yeah, he's part of it. He's not like the one doing it, but yeah, it's like 2 coolish moments, and that's it. Though it's kind of a waste Donnie Yen, but he was important. He's a fight coordinator in this too, one of the fight coordinators. So that's probably why the action is so good.
Yes, absolutely.
I wonder if Donnie Yen and Wesley Snipes just offset, like when like between takes just started like randomly fighting each other to flex on all these bozos.
I'd pay money.
I bet they were like, one day we're gonna be in the Expendables movies.
Man, are you guys big fans of the Expendable movies? I'm just curious.
Like a movie and a half, because I really like Expendables 2, and then I like parts of 1 and 3, but like basically just 2, and then like some parts of 1 and 3. That's about it for me on Expendables.
Oh goodness. Did when we were talking about like how it was hard to get these movies going off the ground, and Matt, you said Wesley Snipes put a lot of effort. He did produce both of these movies. I don't know if he produces the third one, but this movie fucking made bank. I don't know if you guys saw the box office numbers. It had like a $34 million budget, and it made over $120 million in 2002. Nice. I think that's some serious money at this time for a movie like this.
Yeah, especially compared to the budget. It's like it's a nice return there. And like, yeah, I thought the budget was bigger than that, but that's impressive for 34 million, the stuff they did in this movie. So
yeah, can you imagine these days them making a superhero movie for $34 million?
No,
exactly.
Unimaginable. Maybe they should.
When one's like less than like 100 million ish, they're like, wow, what a cheap superhero movie. Only 100 mil. Woo.
Yeah. Also, I wish superhero movies kind of had different settings and transition of like getting a feel of the world. I think Shang-Chi did a really good job of it. But in Blade 2, I feel like they're all over the place. They're in the sewers, they're in a nightclub, they're in the alleyways, they're on rooftops. It's like constantly dynamic changing. In the first movie, you kind of get that, but I feel like just warehouse scene after warehouse scene, and then you kind of get this cavern. In this one, you're all over, and you get an idea of like the outside. And in like a lot of MCU movies, it feels like it's just like in one big city, but it's all a CGI city for the most part, or just a backdrop, or
it's Sokovia, dude.
But I gotta have to give, because Del Toro does the same thing in the Hellboy movies, and again in Hellboy 2, you get, like Dan and I covered it, you're in so many different settings and seeing so many different things, and yeah, that's why Del Toro's goated, man. Like he just knows how to create a world. Even in just one movie, he was able to surpass the first movie. And like I read some like criticisms of this movie that he didn't add to the Blade character in this movie, and it was kind of like a sloppy script. But like I felt like it was pretty like well done. Like I could follow the movie from point A to B pretty easily. And Wesley Snipes had total character dynamic. Like he actually has a romance in this movie. Right, it's not like some obscure mother son sort of confusion.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I do like that they don't push the romance too much, and they don't try to make it out to be more than it should be. It's not like I love you, blah blah. It's just like they're almost like, you can almost sense there's no romance in the script at all. It's like all just in their performances, and they just sell you on like an attraction that's there. And plus, like Blade lets her suck his blood.
Yes.
Okay, is sucking blood a sexual act that I just don't know about?
It is when Christopher Lee does it. Always.
There you go. I will never forget on the commentary with Wesley Snipes that, again, he's making fun of things in the movie, and like that scene where Blade lets Nisa feed off his blood. He's like, finally, Blade's getting some action. He's like, he's getting a wrist job.
Good for him.
Oh, he's very funny on that commentary. Highly recommend it. Like, yeah, he was really excited about Blade, like actually having like a kind of legit love interest. I mean, they don't push it too hard, but he's like, at least there's something. And see, I think they do. It's a good sequel because like they take the character on like a new adventure. You could have done like so many Blade movies where just Blade dropped in different scenarios, like a James Bond thing, and I feel like this is fun because it like humanizes Blade a little more. He's having a little more fun. There's like little touches they point out where he, like the part at the beginning where he's in that chase and he's on the motorcycle and he gets really close to his car and blows the kiss to it, and like there's just like little like extra like fun, like Blade's having a little more fun this time when he like messing with a blood pack basically, which I love that scene. he's like ooh, so exciting. Like just he's having more fun in this one, which I really appreciate, because he is very like stoic in the first one, and like it's kind of like very limited dialogue. So I think they expand the character enough that it's like he's just having fun hunting vampires now.
I love when he sticks the explosive on Ron Perlman's head. Glorious moment.
And the line is so
the most badass flex you could possibly do.
And he's so direct. It's like, now you have an explosive device in the back of your neck. Like he's just like telling him exactly what's going on. It's so good.
You get these acting chops from Blade too. Like in the first movie, Blade is all about writing solo. And then, in the second movie, he has to kind of work with other people. And I was kind of thinking like, I was watching this with Charlie, and she was just like, you know what? Do you think Blade could be a leader? Because I don't feel like he gave that impression the first movie. And I was like, I don't know. But in this movie, he kind of embodies that role very subtly. Like he isn't like, all right, everyone listen to me and stuff like that. He's more like a hard ass where he's like, I don't anticipate you guys all surviving and stuff. And he's like telling them and leading them in what they're going to do. And it's like, more dynamic changes for the Blade character, which makes him feel like, yeah, he because like he's all about hunting these vampires, but now he's coming to realize how he has to work with these, once foes to help them, but also having like a cautious approach with them. And I like that kind of change. It makes me like Blade more and like get to know what kind of like, I guess, person he is. Because in the first movie, he just feels like wearing black leather, having guns, barely saying anything. In this movie, he's talking to these characters. He's interacting with them. Also, he changes his outfit a little bit. And I know Daniel's a big guy about like how superheroes look and stuff like that. He's not a superhero, but like he does change his outfit, much like how Hellboy changes his hairstyle from Hellboy 1 to 2. Like these small changes. He has more of the ponytail and he grows it out more. It's a different look. And in this movie, Blade, I think he wears mostly the vest instead of just the trench leather jacket the whole time. He uses his katana, I feel like, a little bit more in this movie. I don't know, just like these small little changes that I think make the movie work a lot better. Although I do think there were some inconsistencies with like how killing a vampire works. But I mean,
yeah,
I'm not going to nitpick the Blade movie for that, because the only thing I have to go with vampire killing is just like from what the first movie says and just like old vampire movies, just to stick through the heart.
They again, I think everyone joked about this in the commentary about how like they're not consistent with killing vampires, and mostly just Toro's like whatever looks cool in the moment. Like you hit one with white like light and it blows up like it's shooting at the Reaper against the wall with the van. Like that's so dramatic how it blows up. There's one guy who gets shot in the beginning chase where he like really, I feel like, slowly kind of disintegrates. Like it's all over the place with how they blow up sometimes. And I mean there's some stuff in Blade 2 where you have to suspend your disbelief, because they're like, even the people made it were like, this makes no sense. Like the light bomb that goes off in the tunnels, how the light kind of like turns a corner and like goes, it's like, it's supposed to be light. It's like, and it's shooting, it's like a big glob of blue. It's like, who knows how it works, but it's just,
it's so true.
It's like Del Toro was basically about, whatever looks good, basically, which I appreciate, because like it's a movie, I just want to look cool. So whatever works, whatever gets the job done.
Yeah, that's how I feel. There was nothing that really bothered me. I mean, they made it clear that like you kill I believe they call them Reapers, different than you kill a vampire, because pretty much they can only be killed by sunlight. Although I don't really understand. I guess there was one thing that confused me, how Blade actually kills Nomak, because like you can't just shoot or stab them and they die. It has to be sunlight, but he does stab. It's like he stabs Nomak in just the right way, and you get an inside gut shot of him, like it going through his heart. Mm-hmm. Is that it?
They made the point when they're doing an autopsy that they have like a hard casing, so you can't go straight through with a strike. So Blade has to go like from the side to hit it, basically. And I guess so the silver through the heart still works, but you have to get around like the shielding, basically. And I think Nomak even kind of like finishes himself off. Like,
yes, he kind of, which I really like.
Yeah. Because he kind of closed that whole bloodline with his dad and Issa. And so it's a little, it's, you can still do it. You have to get around the side, basically, was their point. But mostly it's like sunlight and like stab him in this one specific spot. And
it's weird they get rid of the politics of vampires in the first movie and replace it with like a royal bloodline like ruler in the second movie.
It's less yuppie businessmen than it is in the first
more
movie.
Old school vampires. I love how they even had a line this time where what's his name? They're really, really old.
He's like, I'm a lawyer. He's like, what are you, a vampire? He's like, no, close. I'm a lawyer.
Yeah. They're really, really old. Oh, Damaskinos. So when he's like, Blade, you took care of Deacon Frost for us, so we appreciate that. Basically, you got rid of that piece of shit. I kind of felt like there was like an American.
We can't stop a club owner.
Yeah. An American section of like vampires, and then like this was like the European network. I don't know.
European ones are way cooler.
Way cooler. Yeah. They get in big bloodbaths with robes on. Yeah. It's like,
that was so cool. He's just going into a pool of blood. I was like,
that's
awesome.
Also, that seems very Del Toro.
Yeah.
Like
I always like the trope of very old vampires looking like Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Always a fan.
Yeah. And he was kind of like Darth Sidious in a way too, because he wants to clone more too and like create a new species.
his plan is insane. That's one of the parts where I'm kind of like, wait, so what's your plan? It's like, I'm gonna like make this new strain of vampires and I have these little baby fetuses and this, like it's like very weird, like out there plan. But Yeah, that's just, I love how he's so old too that when he dies, his blood is just green. Like he's just so old that like
Yeah.
he turns into dust too, I think.
Also, I'm glad that Del Toro is not so fascinated with pushing this pure blood versus the tainted blood the themes of the first movie and the second one. He's just kind of like, it's just a discrimination. Let's move on from it. Because it's just, I was like, because like I kept thinking like, who cares if you're born a vampire? Because like vampires' whole thing is turning people into vampires in the first one. So like, why does that matter as much? And in this one, they're just like, we're all about trying to make ourselves a better species so we can go in the daylight and rule. You know, I kind of like that approach with the vampires more in the lore, you know. I don't know how accurate it is to like older like vampire movies, because I mean, you know, I
feel like there was always a thing, maybe I'm thinking Blade, where it's like where people who were born vampires have this weird like they're better than people that were turned into vampires, like because they're born into it.
I don't see how you can be born a vampire.
If both your parents are vampires, but can they have kids? I don't know.
Apparently they can.
I guess they must, because they're having vampire babies. Because there's I know one of the guys in the Blood Pack says it, where he's like, you walk in that club and he's like disgusted. He's like, oh, these people aren't even full bloods. They were all turd. Like he's just like turns his nose up at them. So there's still that weird like hierarchy, classism thing. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking of Blade. I can't remember what happens in other vampire movies though, about like people that were turned or people that were just full vampire. I
can't think of anything else where vampires can reproduce.
Yeah, usually it's a no-go for them, right? Like it's
technically in Van Helsing, but they're by like eggs and they come out as like bat monsters.
Yeah,
it's a little different.
And they had to use like Frankenstein as like
they had to do some weird experiment thing to make it happen.
Okay, so I thought the new strain of Normac was his name, right? Nomak. I love that freaking reveal with how their mouth opens up and like the virus.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I did not see that coming. And when it happened,
so
I was just like, whoa, like I was like, that's cool.
They tease it for a while, like till they do the full-on like shot when he just opens. People screamed in my theater 2002.
Nice.
Like people shrieked, and it is still so effective. I know it's like a mix of practical and CGI. I think they cut to one right after that's pure practical. That guy Lighthammer, the bald guy's getting attacked, and there's like a truly all practical mouth effect. But it looks so good. Again, I'm like, Del Toro, you're a crazy person, but I love you like to come up with this design.
Yeah, I think it was like a nice added touch. Like I didn't really ever feel scared in the first Blade movie, even though it has to do with vampires. But this movie, there were times where I jumped and was like, whoa, like that kind of freaked me out a little bit, you know? And like between cuts, it's like, try about to scare you, but then it cuts to something else that's going to scare you instead. Like when they're in the club and they're kind of like all looking for these things. And then it cuts to Norman Reedus just like freaking out, trying to get everything set up. Like small little subtle things like that got me jumping. And I got to give Del Toro credit for that, because even though it is more action packed, he still doesn't let up on the horror elements of the movie. You know, he still realizes these are vampires, you know?
I actually think it is. This is why I kind of think it is better now when I kind of think about Blade 2 versus Blade 1. I think it is scarier, and I still think the action is better. Because I think the Reapers are just so scary because they're like these monsters. They're not like the classical like suave vampires. They're just like crackhead monsters. Like and when they open their mouths, that effect's so scary. So I'm like, the Toro like up the action and the horror, which is very impressive. So that always is gonna put the edge to Blade 2 for me. On this time watching it I was like, okay, I think Blade 2 is like definitively a little better than Blade 1, as much as I love both. But everything's just up. It's like a perfect sequel, because everything just kind of gets raised up a notch.
It's also, and I didn't think about this till this watch, it kind of uses Aliens as a template, because it like puts the hero in like a big squad of badasses to go versus like a whole horde of monsters.
That's a good point.
And you know, it's never a bad idea to use Aliens as a template. I'm sure Matt would agree with that.
I would agree wholeheartedly. Also, can I tell you that I almost had a heart attack when I was driving my car and you guys were doing your horror sequels bracket on Cobwebs, and the first matchup was Aliens versus Halloween 2, and I heard hesitation in Chris's voice, like, Chris, don't do this. I was like, I even like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. That was the one. And I was like, I'm fine with it, but I was like, it's Aliens. Come on, you did the right thing. So I'm proud of you. It is very Aliens, actually, the template of Blade 2. I hadn't really thought about it. And they add just more vampires. Like that's the threat, is like there's so many Reapers at one point in the tunnels. It's terrifying because they're just like coming from every direction and they're completely overwhelmed at one point. It's just like Blade Ron Perlman and Nisa left, and it's like they're just in a circle just shooting, and it's just Reapers everywhere. It's pretty great. It's like they up all the stakes. It's a good sequel.
Yeah, I feel
What
like.
if-
Oh, go ahead.
So, what if an Alien sequel puts Ripley in a team of xenomorphs to fight more evil xenomorphs?
These are xenomorphs that can like talk now and like and they're like kind of like domesticated.
I oddly can kind of see xenomorphs talking telepathically with her.
help us fight these aliens.
Yeah, these are new strain of aliens, Ripley.
Isn't there a TV show called Strain though that has like an image of that looks like the vampires in this movie?
Oh yeah, I think Del Toro's involved in it.
Yeah. I thought the
called The
image of
Strain?
like that looked kind of familiar outside of the Resident Evil video game lore, but I thought there was a TV show that he was involved
I
with
think
like
it's
that.
actually based on a book that Del Toro wrote.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think the
I'm
design
looking it up.
does
adding
look
more
like
to the
Reaper.
legend.
Yeah.
Well, he was at least a creator and a writer on it for sure. Oh yeah, based on a book by Del Toro. Okay, there it is.
There you go.
Hardest man working in Hollywood. Actually,
He
probably not.
tries.
He's probably not
Yeah.
because it's all fun for him, you know? Like I feel like
Yeah.
it's not work for him.
Can I ask, do you guys have a favorite Del Toro movie?
Ooh.
Yeah. I'd probably
is
say
it?
Hellboy too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
My my heart wants to say Blade 2, but my gut wants to say Pan's Labyrinth. Like my brain wants to say Pan's Labyrinth. I think it's his best movie, but
Okay.
that's tough. He's made so many good movies. And I love Shape of Water too. This is a tough question.
Shape of Water is my favorite.
Oh, yeah, the Oscar winner. Yeah.
Yeah, I just love the monster on human sex. You know?
I just like seeing better orcs than what the MCU gave us in Hellboy 2. Or they're not orcs, they're elves, sorry.
Right.
Well, that
yeah.
answers my next question. I was going to ask if you guys are more of a Hellboy guy or a Blade guy.
I think you know my answer to that one.
Blade, and then
Yeah.
and then Matt, Chris is Hellboy.
Yeah, I'd say Hellboy.
I'm a Hellboy guy more so,
Yeah.
but I still like Blade a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
I mean-
lie though, watching Blade 2 maybe just want to go and watch the Hellboy movies next. Like I wanted to just do more of the same vein of Del Toro, like superhero type. Well, like superhero, but you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't know how do you categorize it. I mean, because they're heroes, but they're like hunters at the same time, hunting this supernatural thing. I don't know what you would categorize these movies, just fantasy action, I
I
guess.
mean, they are technically superhero movies, but they're
Yeah.
also like Blade is maybe like the best Blade 2 is maybe the best action horror movie. I think for me, the only real competition with it is actually Brotherhood of the Wolf, which I watched for the first time not long ago, based on Mike Scott's
Oh.
recommendation. I think
Oh,
those
yeah.
are probably the two best, at least for me.
Brotherhood of the Wolf, the new Scream Factory release film.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a new movie, but it did get recently released by Screen
Yeah.
Factory.
Well, you know, we love to talk about boutique labels on this podcast.
I know
That's
you do.
$30
That's your
right
thing.
now for that fucking movie.
Wow.
I've heard the subtitles are super jacked up on it, but I only heard about that from Jinx from Scream Addicts. I haven't heard
Yeah.
anybody else talk about that, but some of his screenshots were pretty rough, a lot of typos and stuff.
I would get more upset with that, but I'm pretty like used to Scream Factory bombing a release and charging an arm and a leg.
shut
for
up.
it.
Knock
You know,
it off.
I heard
They
the
sent me replacement discs on my Friday the 13th set. I'm fine.
I
Yeah.
heard I heard that the Halloween 4K editions that came out, they put them in 4K eco discs. For that price,
Really?
you're putting them in an eco case of Scream Factory. I'm fucking livid. This is why we don't get any sponsors, because I tell them that how it is. That's
You just
fucking
do it.
pathetic. And it's in a black case to
Right. That's why you don't get sponsors. Scream Factory listened and we're like, fuck this guy. We're moving on.
he's just like our
Check out these
clientele.
film feast.
No, they're probably like just another horror schlob that's complaining about a release but still buying it
Oh,
on the
God.
down low.
I just want episodes now where you like go after each boutique label individually. Like this episode's all about shitting on Criterion and like
Yeah,
shitting on
you know-
Scream Factory.
You know who's on my shit list in terms of companies right now? It's fucking Family Video that's going out of business.
They
I-
are
I-
out of business. They're gone.
I thought they were gone. Yeah.
I met their Twitter's still active. They're selling stuff online and on eBay for the merchandise. They're still in business, boys. We're still in. But I messaged them on Twitter and I was like, bruh, you want to be on my podcast? It's about sequel movies. We have jokes, drinks, and a good time. You'd be perfect. And they just read it. They never responded. They just read the
Left
message.
you on read.
Oh, shut
now
down
we started
that.
attacking them for like, having their Arrow and Screen Factory sales on Family Video, but it's just same retail price, but they just call it a sale.
My favorite part of our Fly
Oh.
episode on Cobwebs was when Mitch said, if you had to fist fight one boutique label,
Oh,
who would you
yeah.
fight?
Oh, man.
Matt would be like, I would fight Vinegar Syndrome people because they're just a bunch of sex addicts. Their arms are weak from jerking off to the porn.
I would have said Severin, but then they announced that full core box
They
set,
redeemed
and now
themselves.
I'm back on the Severin train.
If you now you get Severin's untouchable with the PR stunt that they pulled and like calling fans out on Twitter. Like we got to back away.
I forgot about that. Forgot
Kino
they did that.
Lorber too. They went really after people on Twitter.
Oh my god, yeah. They seem so nice and polite too. Like they just kind of stay in their lane, and then they went after all these people.
Somebody had a bad day.
Someone had a bad day. They were just like, "I'm gonna attack all these motherfuckers."
Normalize
These
staying
nerds.
in your lane. Just buy our shit and shut up.
Oh man.
But yeah, Blade 2, man, it was a fucking good ass time. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was pleasantly surprised, like because I saw the runtime and I was like, God, these movies are gonna be like 2 hours long.
It's under 2 hours. Big deal.
Yeah.
The first
I think
one's
it
2
flies
hours.
by. I think they both fly by. I'll say.
Two does fly by, but man,
Blade 2,
I will say the CGI is really good in the movie, except that last scene on the fight scene. I did feel like it was kind of a video game at points.
Yeah.
But in
I hear
2000, but in 2002, I'm gonna forgive that, you know, because a lot of
Yeah.
it was Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that this time too. I was like, oh, the CGI is rougher than I even remembered, but it's not. I mean, it's season 2. It's not. It doesn't tank the movie because they don't overuse it in every
Mhm.
single fight scene. There's enough real practical stuff to kind of make up for it. What else can I say? I love this movie so much. As much as I love the blood club scene in the first movie that opens the movie, I may love the scene where Wesley Snipes gets dumped in the bloodbath and comes out and fights The Name of the Game by Crystal Method as much or more. Like,
So
God damn it, I love that fight scene. Like, it's one of my I think Roger Ebert criticized the whole, like, you know, when a one guy is surrounded by like 20 guys and he fights them all off. I'm like, listen, I believe in Wesley Snipes' Blade is doing it. Like, I'm all in. Like, love that. I love it ends with like a suplex too, and then pops up in front of Ron Perlman.
So cool when he drops the suplex on him.
And I love how like Ron Perlman is big time flexing on him. Like, you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. And then Blade kills him so
Instantly.
easily. It's not even a fight at all.
Oh,
So great.
It's so good.
It's a good
yeah.
it's a good demise, but man, I wish I got to see what a vampire Ron Perlman would look like with the fangs and everything, you know.
Yeah, I guess we never see his fangs.
Yeah.
But he does get half his face burned, which is nice by the
Yeah.
sunlight.
I just goes to show this guy was like hardworking in the 90s and early 2000s, being in Alien Resurrection and then this and then doing the Hellboy movies. And then he works with Del Toro, you know, eventually. Same thing as Norman Reedus ends up going to work with Del Toro in like a video game that they produced a couple years back. But
Oh, I was gonna say like what they did, but I
Yeah.
don't know about video games. So
yeah. But
take your word for it.
But I think it's so cool, like when like these actors, when they were starting out, end up still working in some capacity with these directors that we love, because it makes me like those directors even more. You know, Del Toro is probably the most lovable guy in Hollywood, but like, you know, when you see continuous people coming back to work with him, it really says something, you know.
Yeah. Does Doug Jones have any part in this movie? Because usually Doug Jones is attached to the hip with Del Toro, but I don't think he has any part in this movie, which
Yeah,
is
I
a little
don't
rare.
think so.
No, I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
I can't think who we'd play. So yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely the most consistent relationship Del Toro has in his career.
Yeah. Well, who has the better eyes in terms of action superhero, or not even super, but just action star? Was it Vin Diesel's Riddick with the blue eyes, or was it Blade Wesley Snipes with the brown red eyes?
It's Daniel Craig as James Bond. He has the best eyes.
Oh,
I just saw No Time to Die, so he's very on my mind right now.
Oh, I gotta go see that soon. I gotta get out there and see that movie. That's a tough call on the eyes. Maybe Vin Diesel in Riddick. Let me go with that.
Oh,
Dude, when are you going to cover Chronicles of Riddick on this podcast? And when are you going to call me up for that?
I'm not going to do Chronicles. I'm going to do its direct sequel, Dark Fury, the CGI movie that came out after Pitch Black.
Oh, come on, dude. Why you got to hurt me like
just
that?
to spite you, he'll do that one instead.
When I was a kid around the age you're talking about, Matt, with Blade 2, Chronicles of Riddick was like the coolest movie I ever saw in
Oh,
my life.
It was the coolest
And I've
thing.
never revisited it as an adult, but my God, greatest movie I ever saw when I was like 12 or
Listen,
11.
I get it. There was like a period where like every movie I saw was like the coolest movie. Like because well, first it was like me going to like see movies I probably shouldn't have been seeing. Like there was like a stretch from mom, like it was weird. I could see R-rated stuff when I was younger. Like I saw like RoboCop and Terminator 2. And then my mom tried to put a kibosh on that for like a few years. It was like no more R-rated stuff. And then she gave up when I like turned 9 or 10. She was like, whatever. And then like
9 or 10.
she was like, you know what?
Here's Basic
Fine.
Instinct, kid.
Yeah. Enjoy. That might be too much for me now. Probably that movie is a lot. Movie's a lot. No, I saw Starship Troopers in theaters, but that one was funny because my mom had like talked to somebody. She sent me with like the guy she was dating at the time to take me to this movie, and she'd found out from a friend when like anything really objectionable happened, and she found out there was like a sex scene, which is barely even a sex scene. And it's like a shower scene. She's like, okay, take him out during the nudity. But then there's like some of the most graphic violence I've ever seen that no one bothered to care about. She was like, don't let him see any nudity though, but let him see all that violence.
Man, that's Midwestern parents. Although I don't think you are Midwestern, but
East Coast.
That's just American
my mom's from Indiana, so you know.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. They don't know what sex is there. It's a dying state. They're not producing quick
I
enough.
always joke that I grew up like a pilgrim. It was like a sexless. No one talked about it. You know, violence all day long, but no sex stuff.
Same.
Man, that's a lot of horror schlob.
Look where we are now.
I watch a lot of graphic action and gore, but never any sex.
Never ever. I mean, then it was like Blade came out, and Blade like completely like changed my world. You guys will love this story. So I'm like 10 when the first Blade comes out, and that Halloween, I'm begging my mom to go as Wesley Snipes as Blade. And she's like, look at me. It's like, I'm not pulling that off. Imagine like 10-year-old me, like just chubby, glasses, I think braces already, going as Blade. And my mom was like, my mom sent me like direct. She's like, I don't know if you can pull that off, honey. It was like, and I said, I just need a long leather coat and it'll be fine. And she goes, they don't really make those for children. It's like, they're gonna be really hard to find, and trying all the excuses to get me out of it. And I was like, I think I can pull it off. She's like, I don't know.
And then you looked at your mom dead in the eyes and said, man, some motherfuckers really want to have to skate uphill sometimes.
Oh, like I tried so hard and I gave up. I had all these pieces for it ready. I had like a sword. I was like, I'm gonna go as Blade.
Mom made an article like how to teach your 10-year-old about cultural appropriation.
But I always say there was never any talk of like doing any kind of brown face or anything like that, or black face. No, none of that. Like none of that was happening. I was gonna just go as me, pale white me with blonde hair, and try to be Blade on this in my neighborhood. And people were gonna somehow understand that why I was Blade. I really want to do it. I couldn't pull it off. And then God, so yeah, that was how much I loved Blade at that time. It's like, I got to go see him for Halloween, and I think I ended up going to Cartman from South Park, which is a real hard left turn. It's like, thanks a lot, Mom.
Then the cultural appropriation starts to come out at that point when you're
oh,
dude,
yeah.
It's funny how we like did not care. Like we just liked these things so much that we just wanted to imitate them. Because like I remember being like 10 years old on my birthday, my dad took me to go get a haircut, and he was like, you can get whatever haircut you want, but your mom said you have to get a haircut for your birthday. And I was a huge Terminator kid growing up, and I wanted a flat top like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And my dad took me to like, he didn't take me to any cool, like, you know, very good hairstylist, but it was like a Great Clips or something. And this lady gave me the worst excuse of a flat top ever. And my mom got so mad at me and him when I came back. She just like gave me a buzz cut just to like make up. In my mind, I was like, I want to look like Schwarzenegger. Like I want the flat top.
Funny because Blade is a flat top too.
Yeah, boys lined up. I love it.
I mean, even in '98 as a child, I knew like, you know, I wasn't trying to be like, oh, I should paint myself up. No, that was not like, I knew better. My mom knew better too. No one was like having those ideas. And I just love him as Blade so much. I think he was the coolest person I've ever seen as Blade. Like everything he did. I was like, everything he does in Blade 2 is cool to me. It's like, even when he's counting down, like he's in that sewer, even him counting down to 10 is cool. It's like 10, 9. It's like so it's just amazing like how fucking cool he is as Blade. And that's why it's like really gonna be hard for me to accept someone else's Blade in the next movie. But I'm and I think CP13 too, which like I'm not all about being an R-rated movie, but I feel like if you're doing about vampires and vampire hunters, you probably need to be rated R. There's gonna be a lot of blood. I mean, it's just kind of, how do you do that as PG-13? But I don't know. We'll see. But yeah.
I also love how Wesley Snipes, he doesn't seem very concerned with like giving a realistic performance. He's way more concerned with being cool. So he'll like strike these poses and stuff that are not necessary or realistic, but who cares? It's so cool. And that seems to be his main goal. And I actually love that.
Much like Tobey Maguire, he wasn't as concerned with being the sarcastic Peter Parker from the comics. He was concerned with being a human Peter Parker with emotions and feelings, and being also this really cool Spidey web guy, versus like Tom Holland's kind of like, what's going on?
Like Mark Wahlberg for a second. What's going on?
I don't really see the comparisons between Tobey Maguire and Wesley Snipes. But
I'm just like saying, well, remember, like, I mean, I feel like in the early like 2000s with these superhero movies, they were like all about looking cool or really delivering a good performance versus trying to be a comedian or be sarcastic and funny. Like a lot of the MCU characters kind of end up being like, even Thor becomes more of a comedy character.
It's because everyone wants to be Robert Downey Jr. Like he really set this template and everyone wants to do that, except Chris Evans. He really charts his own path.
Yeah. Like think about like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in the early 2000s, those X-Men movies. Like he's just saying like cool one-liners and dropping bodies, I don't know if Daredevil, I don't know if Ben Affleck ever tried to look cool in those tights. I can't.
Oh yeah, he is.
He was trying
100%.
that
On the
playground fight
playground.
scene. Yeah.
And I remember the small parts I remember with the Incredible Hulk with Eric Bana. I do remember him being pretty sentimental, like
I
Bruce
like
Banner,
Eric Bana in the role.
but like he's not like Mark Ruffalo and being like, zany in a way. I don't know.
I love Mark Ruffalo in the role too. So
yeah.
I don't know what was scary in this movie. The scene where they open the mouth, or like all the leather in the nightclub scenes, because I thought the nightclubs and leather was kind of scary.
Some weird stuff in the nightclub scene, like someone's doing like open surgery in someone's back. It looks like at one point. I'm like, what is that?
What is the appeal of nightclubs? Is that an era gone by? I don't think they look really attractive.
I mean, I guess if you're a vampire, you have a nightclub's like your only option to get out and do something. It's like middle of the night, we're gonna go to the weird vampire sex club or something.
I'm gonna sound like such an old man, but I'm jealous when I see nightclubs in like old movies, even like as far back as the 80s, honestly, because they look so fun. But nightclubs now, like they're so dark and flashing lights, and it's so loud. It's always the same style of music. It's always boom, boom, unless it's a country western nightclub, of course.
Right.
But yeah, Chris, not really my scene either.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we all are on the same. Well, I guess Matt is the biggest Blade 2 fan I've ever seen. So.
I mean, yeah, 5 stars all day for Blade 2. I mean, I can't. I'm trying to think of more. I'm sorry. I'm glad you let me do this. I think I plugged for months. I was like pushing, like every time, like, what do you guys want to talk about? Like Blade 2 on your Twitter thing. Like put a picture, put a GIF, something like Blade 2. So I'm trying to think of more things to say about it before
we got a Blade 3, but we didn't get a Hellboy 3. Damn.
Yeah, and I don't know why, because Hellboy 2 had like the worst timing. It came out the week before Dark Knight came out. And I feel like that just killed it. I think I remember the story, but it had a good opening weekend, like solid, but then it like just got its legs cut out from underneath it. I don't think it did well after that at all.
It did make a lot of money though. Those Hellboy movies made bank.
Well, I don't know about bank. It did all right. I mean, yeah, I also don't think anybody quite predicted the juggernaut Dark Knight was going to be, because it made way more money than Batman Begins. Way more.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Batman Begins was 2006. I always forget that was before Dark Knight. Yeah.
And Iron Man comes out the same year, 2008. Like it's a big year for superhero movies. It kind of like is a real landscape changing.
It's the game changing year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So maybe after that, they were just like, oh, Hellboy 3 doesn't really fit into what these movies are anymore. I don't know. I think there was like issues getting it going. I can't remember. I know Toro talked about wanting to do it, but they just never did it. So
it's crazy to think. Oh, go ahead.
Let's see. 2007 was an interesting year for superhero movies. Right before that, 2008, because you got Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, Ghost Rider, and Spider-Man 3. And I really think that was the year that killed this era of superhero movies. And then 2008 took us into the era that we're in now, and everything changed.
I saw Ghost Rider in theaters.
As did I, and I liked it. I was 14 and I liked Ghost Rider.
Just Nick Cage going like, oh, love that.
I think I've seen Ghost Rider. Now I'm questioning if I've actually seen the whole movie or just parts of Ghost Rider.
I rewatched it last year. Man, it doesn't hold up at all. Not a bit. It's rough.
Man,
Yeah.
it's just like real. I know we've said it before, but man, yeah, it's crazy when you look at earlier, I guess, before MCU became what it is, like what it meant for like a budget and like box office success. It was like the line that the disparagement is so much different than it is now. It's like a movie costed 120 million to make, but it made 125 million. Well, it got its money back and then some, but it's just higher degrees of money. Now it's so hard to disparage between then and, I hate it. It's all so expensive and makes so much money. It's insane.
Yeah, that's like how I've heard a lot of talk about how it seems unlikely that the new Bond movie, No Time to Die, is going to make enough money because it's the most expensive Bond movie ever made. It's really expensive.
Wow. Oh, wow.
And it's getting released at least kind of during the pandemic. So, I think I saw it made like 56 million domestically this opening weekend, which is like good, not great, but but I do think movies are costing too much nowadays. And especially now that people go to theaters less, this era of monster juggernaut budgets does have to stop, and movies are going to have to start getting a little cheaper.
Well, I mean, once it goes up, eventually it has to come down. It is probably for the best too. But plus, did we talk about this the other time? One time, maybe it was off the mic, where it's like, how do you even equate like subscriptions and watching these movies at home? Does that factor into all of it's just all confusing? I can't read the numbers.
Know. It's a new world
because they call one thing, like they call the Snyder Cut like super successful. Like Warner Brothers, HBO were like, he was a huge hit. We don't know. I don't know what the numbers are, but they're like, it's huge. And then you hear like Suicide Squad,
best movie ever made, best movie of the year. What are you talking about? Instant success, classic.
I knew I should have brought that up.
Snyder the Citizen Kane.
Hashtag
of our
Snyder
time.
Cut. And then like Suicide Squad comes out, and it's a bomb because it only made a little bit in theaters. But I'm like, how well did it do on HBO?
Apparently not very well, from what I heard.
Interesting. Okay.
I didn't watch the Suicide Squad, but I kind of forgot it already came out.
It had no impact,
which is weird because it's a James Gunn movie, and I like James Gunn and those Guardian movies. But man,
I really liked it. But yeah, it kind of seemed like it was the one weekend thing, and then it was gone. And like, they keep saying like Malignant bombed, but then I'm like, it seems like everybody in the world was talking about it the weekend it came out.
Dorks like us are talking about it.
I know. That's I always say we're in a movie bubble, but it's like I don't know how big the bubble is, So who knows? Yeah. So streaming makes things really weird and like mysterious. I feel like the numbers, like who knows what is really doing well,
I can't wait till we read somewhere on like it's probably gonna be on an IndieWire or some shit like that where it's local Virginia native Matt Bledsoe sells Blade 4 script and like makes money. And he never got to dress up as Blade, but he got to do a Blade movie.
Had to write the script, yeah. I'm not lying. I think I might have written like a little treatment for another Blade sequel.
I knew it. That and your John Woo script.
My John Woo script that never got made.
Mitch Oliver is messaging you right now.
The shittiest generic script. It was like cops and robbers, and it's just like a complete ripoff of John Woo.
But the
movies.
cops are
two
vampires.
sides of the same coin.
Yeah. One brother's a cop, one's a criminal. Like they're, it was very like generic. God, I wish we got more Wesley Snipes Blade of it. I want like old man Blade now. I want like
hell yeah. He still looks good.
Yeah, I think I read something the other day. I don't know if it's true or not, because it might have been like we got this covered or some bullshit where they were saying like Marvel wants Wesley Snipes back in the new Blade for some part. I don't know if that's true.
I just want to see him as Blade.
Right. He can't be like
I hate the profiting of like the original actor being in a small little, Easter egg cut of like a remake of the movie. Kind of like what Candyman did with Tony Todd. Danny and I talked about it a little bit, but it's like I feel weird. It's like they're just profiting the image. They don't care about the original work almost in a way.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that about the new Candyman.
Oh, well,
just to be fair.
Okay. Maybe I took a different.
Matt, did you see the new Candyman?
I did. Yeah. I mean, just the fact that he's in it so briefly, it's weird. It's like, did they really promote him being in it? The whole thing was weird. It was like, was he in it? Was he not? And then it's like, I kind of see him. I'm like, well, I thought that was Tony Todd. It's like,
it was.
Yeah.
It was like the whole movie was kind of leading up to his resurrection. Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Candyman.
Well, no, this will be off the mic. Yeah, we don't need to have Candyman on.
Oh, okay.
I was just
okay.
Just was curious.
Doesn't matter what we say.
No, please, no, don't make me work that hard for it. But anyway, back to the conversation. Matt, you have this game you want to play. What is it?
Well, I ripped it off from you guys not too long ago.
Yes, I invented brackets.
You invented brackets. Forget the NCAA March Madness tournament.
Don't feed into his ego, Matt. You created this yourself.
But just the idea of doing it on a podcast. And I loved you guys did horror sequels. I think specifically part 2 was the one I just listened to. And I was like, I just love that thing. It's the only time I care about college basketball is March Madness and make a bracket, so it's like I love brackets. So I picked 16 superhero movies, part 2 specifically, and have them seated here like you did, Daniel. On yours, it was like letterbox average rating. So like the 1 seed is the highest letterboxed, and then so on. And we're gonna go back and forth. This will be interesting. So I'm gonna go Daniel, Chris, back and forth, and you guys will pick different things. So it's not gonna be very cut and dry about like, because there's a couple movies where I'm like, Daniel will take this all the way to number 1. But I don't know what Chris is going to do. So
it's just going to be an argument of like if Daniel's willing to put in the work to make his case for his movie, because I can get down on a pissing contest like easily.
Well, you only have control over certain picks. Like he has the first pick, so we're going back and forth. Like he has the first matchup, you have the second matchup.
It's the final matchup.
I was going to ask you guys about this. I didn't know how we were going to do the final because I was, oh shit, we get to the final. It kind of feels bad that it's luck of the draw.
We have to play that game where we name an actor from a movie and then we name an actor from that said movie, and then
maybe. I have a suggestion. Okay. Maybe we both vote on it, and if we disagree, then you be the tiebreaker.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Let's see how this goes.
Okay. This should be pretty easy. I think straightforward here. So this is the the letterbox average highest rating versus the lowest to start off. So Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2 versus the 16th seed, which is Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. Daniel, you go first. Yeah.
I have never seen Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance.
I know how much it was Spider-Man 2. I almost penciled this in before I even did the bracket. I was like, well, that's an easy win for Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
It's a pretty good movie. It's pretty good.
I hope you guys
I'm going to hold back my thoughts for now.
I was like, I hope they've seen most of these sequels, but we'll see. Okay. Chris, now you're next. Okay. Iron Man 2 versus Blade 2.
Oh, Blade 2.
Okay.
Blade 2.
That's good. I appreciate that.
Man, no love for Hammer, played by Sam Rockwell.
Dude, those
no love for Mickey Rourke's bird.
At least Mickey Rourke trying something weird in that movie, because otherwise
I don't mind it. I don't mind Iron Man 2, honestly.
I definitely don't hate Iron Man 2, but it's not my favorite. I would go Blade 2 all day. So okay, next matchup, Daniel. X2, X-Men United versus Thor: The Dark World.
Oh, okay. So Thor: The Dark World is the only MCU movie that I think is terrible. Okay. I think every other MCU movie is at least decent. I think Thor: The Dark World is horribly boring, and I think X-Men 2 is one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. So I'm going to go X-Men 2.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Dark World is it's torture.
It's not good. Yeah, I agree with you. It's not good at all. Okay, Chris. Oh, I'm curious about this one. Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice versus Batman Returns.
Oh no, my beloved Batman Returns is getting kicked out first
round.
Dude,
he heard about me loving Val Kilmer, so he threw that one in there. But I'm gonna give Batman versus Superman.
Okay. Oh
wait,
man.
You didn't do this thing where you threw the extended cut as well, but you also put.
I was gonna leave it up to you to judge it however you want to judge it, if it's extended cut or theatrical or whatever.
It's extended cut because I mean the Ultimate Edition is the only way to watch it. So yeah,
that's an upset. That's a 13 seed beating a 4 seed. So
wow, 13th seed for Batman versus
Superman. A very low letterbox rating, like a 2.5.
People don't like that movie, dude.
Yeah,
dude, I remember watching that movie for the first time on my fucking laptop when Daniel and I were roommates.
You didn't see that in theaters?
No, I watched it on my laptop.
Crazy person.
I rented. I got paid to watch it like on Google Play, and I sat down and watched it when our roommate was arguing with his parents downstairs, and I just watched it twice. And it wasn't even the extended cut; it was just the original. I was like, this movie's pretty good.
I was dying to see that for 3 years, like ever since they announced it at Comic-Con, and then it got pushed back, and I was like, oh no, I got to see this movie.
I was so scarred with theaters. I think you all know I was scarred with going to the theaters from 2010 all the way to 2015. I was exposed to a lot of garbage.
Oh, I was going to ask what happened to you to theater.
Well,
he had friends pushing him to see a lot of movies he didn't want to see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Godzilla 2014 was a thing, and a lot of Kevin Hart comedy movies.
You don't have to relive that trauma. That's okay. We don't have to make you go through that again.
That's why I shake when people touch me. They're like, let's go to the movies. I'm like, no.
That's your Vietnam, is that stretch of movie. Okay, back to Daniel. Okay, Captain America Winter Soldier versus Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I don't love Winter Soldier as much as a lot of other people. So against a different movie, it might have actually gotten kicked out. But Wonder Woman 84 is a really messy movie. Not terrible, but really messy. I definitely have to go Winter Soldier for sure.
Fair enough. All right. Okay. Let's see here. Chris, back to you. All right. Oh, okay. I think I can answer this one. Amazing Spider-Man 2 versus Hellboy 2, The Golden Army.
Oh yeah, Hellboy 2.
Yeah.
I barely remember the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
But it's Jamie Foxx's birthday. Did you forget? Time for me to light the candles.
I blocked most of that movie out, honestly. That was traumatic for me in theater. I was like, well, Spider-Man's dead. That's okay.
Oh man.
Okay, back to Daniel. Superman 2 versus the Wolverine.
Oh, interesting. I like Superman 2. I haven't seen it in many years. I've never really fallen in love with any Superman movie, even though like there are definitely good ones. I do have to go the Wolverine. I think that movie is super underrated. I actually really love it.
Yeah, I thought you were a fan of that one. So
wait, what did he have to choose against?
Wolverine versus Superman 2, the old 1970.
The Donner cut.
Well, again, you can pick whatever cut you want.
Richard Donner Superman 2, and you choose
I don't
the
know that I've ever
Wolverine?
seen the Richard Donner cut. Actually, I probably should.
Superman 2. Okay, yeah.
We're really upsetting each other, Chris.
Okay, yeah, Chris. This is the last one of the first bracket here. First round. Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer versus The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight.
Okay. I love the hesitation there for a second.
I can't remember. I kind of was trying to remember the Silver Surfer. That one I didn't watch a lot. I watched it like one or two times.
It is super underrated. That's all I'm saying.
Are they on a bridge on that movie with the Silver Surfer, or was that in the first one?
No, yeah, that's the first. That's the second one.
Okay,
yeah.
I did see it. Yeah.
Okay. Back to Daniel. Back to the top now. Oh, all right. Spider-Man 2 versus Blade 2.
Oh, definitely Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
All apologies to Wesley Snipes.
That's understandable. I'd even do that too, as much as I love Blade 2. So
we're getting
the nitty gritty now. Okay. Chris, X2 versus Batman versus Superman.
X2.
Thank you.
X like those. You should have put The Last Stand in this movie. Then we would have had a different bracket.
Part 2s only, bro.
I was trying to stick with part 2s as much. Yeah. Okay, Daniel, Captain America: Winter Soldier versus Hellboy 2.
Hellboy 2, honestly. Okay. I really, really love Hellboy 2.
Okay. Chris, the Wolverine versus the Dark Knight.
I don't want the Dark Knight to keep going. But I do like it because I don't like the Wolverine. I'm gonna go with the Dark Knight.
Oh, okay. The final four already. This is going to be very interesting because
Chris loves being a contrarian, so he doesn't want to be voting for the Dark Knight, but you're forcing him to.
You, Chris, to do that. Okay, yeah, final four. This is going to get interesting. So back to Daniel. Spider-Man 2 versus X-Men 2.
Ooh, well, really do love X-Men 2, but I gotta go with Alfred Molina, my favorite superhero villain of all time. So Spider-Man 2.
I love in the trailer he goes, "Hello, Peter," and it's for the new MCU Spider-Man movie.
Don't get me started.
Okay, Chris, Hellboy 2 versus the Dark Knight.
Hellboy 2. Hellboy 2.
Wow.
Get the Dark Knight out.
I would do that too.
Okay. That's where we differ, but I you know what? I respect the move. It's nothing against Hellboy 2. Okay. So now, God, both of you, I'm so curious for this one. Now it's Spider-Man 2 versus Hellboy 2 for the final.
For the finale?
For the finale. Yeah.
Damn.
That was quick.
I felt like I skipped something, but no, I think it goes by really fast. Yeah, Spider-Man 2 versus Hellboy 2 for the winner. I know you guys.
It's possible that Spider-Man 2 is the greatest movie ever made. I'm gonna go Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Spider-Man 2. It's
okay.
A cool
I don't want to break
movie.
the tie there. Okay, that's what I would have done too.
Daniel, I went over to Daniel's house a couple of weeks back, and I turned back before leaving because I wanted to spend more time with him and watch Spider-Man. And I was like, let's immediately watch 2 right now. I fell asleep, but boy, I was ready for it.
Man, this is funny because I look at this bracket. I was like, man, Spider-Man 2 is like too strong a 1 seed. I almost was gonna say let's take it out and just do without it because almost like de facto winner. But yeah, well, I mean, how can we go wrong with Spider-Man 2? So I agree with you guys. So
I did admit on this podcast before that Spider-Man 2 is my favorite sequel ever made, for sure.
oh well, there you go. Yeah. So well, that was fun. Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
All right. Yeah.
Definitely.
Not too many hot takes in there. Not too people probably mad about Hellboy 2 versus Dark Knight, but oh well, they should expect
Calm down, Mark Warner.
Mark Warner.
Just kidding. Love you, brother.
All right. Well, that was really fun, Matt. I enjoyed that game. Is it going to be a staple where I'm ever involved with a podcast that there's going to be a bracket of some choice just to say what I choose?
You only do brackets from now on.
Oh man,
I would be
brackets
down
are
for it.
fantasy Oscars.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, if anybody's listening, they want to do that with me. I all I have to say is like, bring it on, because I will make your jaw drop at some point probably. So, but you two have anything else you want to say about Blade 2 or about the bracket at all?
The bracket kind of went how I thought it would, but that's okay because it went the right way, so that's good. And I love Blade 2 so much. The first two Blade movies are so special to me, and I don't even know what to say. I feel like I went on like a beginning. I was just gushing nonstop about them. I couldn't stop. So
yeah, I could tell you did, because you wouldn't take off those black sunglasses you're wearing right now.
I was holding that sword up and putting that black leather coat on. But yeah, I don't even know. It just Blade and Blade 2 were like the movies I wanted to make when I wanted to make movies when I was like a teenager. I wasn't want to make cool shit. Like I don't want to make like artsy stuff. I want to make cool stuff like the Blade movies, like mixing like kung fu and action, horror, and just crazy stuff.
It'd be weird if you were a little kid like wanting to make Igmar Bergman homages or something.
Watching like Seventh Seal and crying like 7 years old, like, oh, this is cinema. No,
or you
I
just be dancing the whole time.
Glad I finally got to use some of that Blade 2 commentary knowledge. It's been useless my whole life until now. But yeah, no, this was a ton of fun. Chris, thanks for letting me talk about Blade 2 because I love it so much.
Of course. Daniel, any thoughts for you before we record another Fly episode?
No, I don't think so. I think it's terrific, and I do think it's one of the best action horror movies ever made. I love it.
Yeah, I'm glad, Matt, you brought that bringing this movie up, and I'm glad Daniel laid some like little knowledge on it. We recorded the Hellboy episode because I was curious to visit this this movie, so I really enjoyed it too. I think it's a really good movie, and I definitely think it's worthy of people's time. And I'm curious what people have to say about Blade 1 and 2, mostly 2. Especially like Michael Scott, because apparently he's a stan, so he better be retweeting the episode and giving me his thoughts.
People kick in this movie, and he likes movies where people kick, so he's probably a fan.
Yeah, but it doesn't have any Atkins in it, so it's like
well, that's right. I forgot that he only likes Scott Atkins movies, and that's it. Never mind.
But anyway, Daniel, what are you going to be up to, my man? I guess at recording, it's at the end of this will drop at the end of October. So
okay, yeah. Well, we've got every Friday we drop an episode on a movie in the Fly franchise, Fly movies for 5 Fridays in October, and then we have regularly scheduled episodes on Tuesdays. So like we did episode we programmed a horror marathon. Matt Bledsoe was on that. We talked about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We did just like a Scream Factory spotlight episode. Lots of fun stuff. Lots of celebration of horror movies in October, and we're finally going to do a James Bond episode in November, which Matt inspired me to do with his GoldenEye episode. So I'm like, oh, I got to talk about a 1960s Bond movie. Yeah. So that's going to be coming up in November.
Is there going to be a Noir-vember with the cobwebs?
I think there'll be one Noir-vember episode. Yeah.
I'm excited for that. Well, yeah, I'm enjoying being in those Fly episodes. So thanks, Daniel, for also being on my podcast for a little bit. It's always really fun to have you on.
Oh, always happy to be here, man.
And we've have so many things scheduled October. I'm excited. And then Matt, thank you for coming back on. I know it's been a little while, but we finally got your ass back on here, which I'm excited about. You're a really busy guy to get on, so I think that's a good thing because you're doing a lot of cool stuff. And I had a lot of fun. I kind of wanted like twirl a gun and then look at you and be like, "Oh, shorty," like RoboCop in that gif.
Oh man.
But no, man, thanks for having me on. What do you got going on in the future?
You're trying to get stuff out in October. I've been busy. I wish I wasn't as busy like in my normal life, not even like podcasting stuff, like work and personal stuff. But should have like episodes in October, all horror stuff, 4 of the 5 Fridays in October, hopefully.
That's
And
pretty good.
yeah, I didn't accept. I thought I have 3. I got 4, so I got another one out there. So November, actually, speaking of Bond, we have something very fun Bond related. I think we're going up for a film feast that Daniel and Keith Rich supposed to be a part of. I don't want to say what it is quite yet, but I think we're all kind of like a Bond mode right now. So it's
yeah, big
so
time.
You guys are bonding. That's so cute.
We're James Bonding on our podcast. So,
You all are imagining you're super handsome and picking up chicks and being spies. So cute.
Just my wife. Just my wife.
October's
My Bond
over,
girl.
guys. You guys can't keep dressing up like that.
Oh no, yeah. I just want to be Blade, not James Bond.
I want to be James Bond.
I'll
So
say
racially
yeah.
appropriate.
I will.
At least
This
so
is true.
far.
This is true.
I demand though, Matt, while I have you on here, I have to be on a film feast episode close to October so we can consume cinema and I can eat a chicken leg or turkey leg while we record.
Oh my god, we should
Should
do
you
like
do that
a
in November?
like a Thanksgiving
November's after October.
film feasting. I mean, that'd be the time to do it if we're gonna do it. I feel like that should happen.
Yeah.
We'll talk
Well,
about
you
it.
know, never mind.
Danny's like, this whole thing's ridiculous.
Yeah, so just doing horror stuff in October, fun Bond thing in November. Still have the Tony Scott series been doing Unscottable going on for a foreseeable future. I think we'll have 2 episodes in November because I'm not doing one in October because all horror stuff. So got some good guests lined up for that. Yeah, a lot of exciting stuff. It's all good. So
Very good, gentlemen. Very good. I'm so excited, happy to have you 2 on here. I had a really good time. This was really fun. And I hope I get you 2 on here again. Well, I know I'm going to get you 2 on here again at some point. And I wish
Nope, I'm done. This is it.
But I am excited to see what other works you 2 put out because you're some of my favorite content creators. And if you're fans of them, you can obviously follow each other on Twitter. Daniel, where can people find you on Twitter?
You can follow me personally at Epler Daniel, or you can follow my podcast at Cobwebs Pod on both Twitter and Instagram.
And Matt, where can people find the feast?
You can follow Film Feast Pod on Twitter at just Film Feast Pod, actually. And you can follow me on Twitter at MattBled87. You can find the Film Feast Podcast anywhere that you get podcasts now. I'm pretty sure we're on every platform. And you can follow me and the podcast on Instagram. It's just Film Feast, which is all one word.
And I highly recommend people follow them. If you want to follow the show, Inside the Sequel, go on our website, insidethesequel.com. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter as well at SequelPod. And then you can follow me personally at Hertastic_Chris. Thank you, 2, for being on here for Blade 2. And remember, if you aren't standing Del Toro's Blade 2, then do you really care about cinema? Anyway.